This is Average Sports.
By your average guys,
Eric.
and Ty. That would be so bad.
Yeah. This is Average Sports.
Your average sports.
Average Sports.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of
You're listening to Average Sports with your average guys.
Average Sports, average guys, Eric and Ty.
And just like Jonathan Taylor's football career right now, we are average sports. We're average guys.
Yeah,
that's right. Hey, we're going to jump right out the gate here. We got a good episode. We're going to talk football. We're going to talk some college sports. And then we got the Masters. We got some golf to talk about, Eric. I'm excited. I'm glad to have you guys tuning in here. It is Average Sports with your average guys, Eric and Ty.
Yeah, I don't know that in the 3 years that we've done this that we will spend as much time on a golf segment as we will today.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to go back in the library. Yeah, we have definitely talked about some golf, but I think you're right. This is probably the most we focused on it. Yeah. Yes. But let's get into it, though. Our butthole the sport in sports. We always got to kick it off with that. And it's not so much of he did something that makes him like a bad person, but did you see Phillip Rivers in his last game when there was a fumble by Taylor and it was returned for a touchdown? My goodness. That didn't go that well. Yeah, if you haven't seen this, it did kind of blow up on the internet a bit, at least on sports sites, and I think you got to have the GIF available now too if you're going to use it to send anyone. It's just basically a half-assed effort at trying to tackle from his back. I mean, it is just like, why?
Yeah, it is a classic dad tackle.
I like the dad.
And we all know Phillip Rivers has plenty of kids, so he's had
there it is.
a lot of practice at the tackling. Yeah.
So in the last week and a half or so, or 2 weeks since last time we've done an episode, let's talk about some things that have happened. Some MLB awards have been announced. Some Cy Young winners, Gold Gloves. So yeah, Eric, what you think of all that?
I mean, it's pretty cool, man. I love watching I'm not watching the awards. I just like seeing who wins and kind of, really seeing if their season was, kind of vindicated by that. The NL MVP goes to Freddie Freeman out there in Atlanta. Everyone for years has kind of always talked about how Freddie Freeman's underrated, and it's just really because he plays in a small market. But, I mean, he absolutely crushed it.
No, he's the man.
This year. He had a 341 average this year, 462, 640 in 60 games. I mean, he was the reason that the Braves were so unbelievably good. Some other finalists for the NL MVP, Mookie Betts and Manny Machado also had great seasons.
Sure.
Winner for the AL, Jose Abreu. The White Sox. He was a fantastic player this year. Obviously, he was the MLB AL MVP, so he led with 60 RBIs, 148 total bases, 76 hits, and I mean, he was just absolutely crushing the ball. There were a couple other great players, LeMahieu and Ramirez out in Cleveland for the AL MVP, and then Cy Young, Trevor Bauer. I feel like every year I'm just talking about Trevor Bauer, like looking at what he does. He's just unbelievable. 173 ERA was the best in the NL. His whip was .795. Absolutely crushed it. And he's about to be a free agent, so someone gonna get paid this offseason for sure. Even with everything, he may sign a short-term deal to reset the market for next year, but he's definitely going to get a nice payday wherever he goes. And Shane Bieber out in Cleveland was the AL Cy Young winner, so congratulations to him. A couple other notes there. Devin Williams, Brewers rookie for the NL. Kyle Lewis, Mariners AL Rookie of the Year, as well as Managers of the Year were Don Mattingly down there in Florida, and we're staying in Florida, just going up the coast to Kevin Cash for the Tampa Bay Rays. Any surprises to you, Ty, about MLB awards? Any player that you wish
I hate to be that guy, but I got to ask, does having the abbreviated season diminish any kind of value to these awards? I mean, either way, all players had essentially the same effort to get this accolade, but does it change anything when we look back on who won the Cy Young, 20 years from now, back in 2020? Then, Shane Bieber just had a heck of a year because it was fewer games. Yeah, does that argument hold water?
Yeah, I mean, the longevity of the season, may potentially not be really what they're looking for. But let's be real here. I mean, all the players were having to deal with these same circumstances. Most of these players, it's not like it's their first time, being talked about in these accolades, especially someone like Trevor Bauer. Like, this isn't his first, go around of being the best pitcher in major leagues. And so same with Freddie Freeman and like Mookie Betts and Manny Machado. I mean, like, these are all-star players playing at all-star caliber. I don't think it's going to matter at all. I think if we had maybe had an outlier where a player, was only really being considered for the first time, but, has a bunch of years under the belt, maybe, that the shorter season plays a role there. But
yeah,
I don't think so for the players that won ultimately, especially 20 years down the road. Hopefully we will have other things to worry about and discuss in a shortened season in all of sports.
Of course. Now, one name also that came from the postseason, the ALCS MVP, actually, Randy Arozarena had such a postseason performance. I was a little surprised to not really see his name crop up so much, but that just speaks to the kind of numbers that other people were putting up. And I don't think he's technically a rookie since he did play in St. Louis, right? I don't know if he was eligible.
He did play in St. Louis. He's not a rookie. He did spend most of the year in the minors, so he really wouldn't have been considered for season-long awards.
Yeah.
He was definitely the Tampa Bay Rays playoff MVP for sure.
No doubt.
Absolutely crushing the ball.
Carried the team.
Helping carrying that team. He wasn't the only one. I mean, that lineup was stacked, but he was definitely a major catalyst for them. So I think next year everyone's going to be excited to see him play a full season in the majors. So yeah.
All right, another bit of sports that I really enjoyed since the last time we recorded an episode was watching the last Clemson game against Notre Dame. Did you catch any of that?
Funny enough, no, I actually didn't.
Okay.
I'm
it was
really
a good
upset
football
about
game.
it.
Yeah,
So,
going to overtime, and I think it once again validated that the overtime format in college is something that the NFL should really take a hard look at considering. It's very exciting, and you're going to likely wind up with more decisions made than ties. And now, not that the NFL gets a lot of ties, but every time one happens, and it's usually one or two a season, everyone's just groaning about it. Yeah. So to me, it was a good definition of what overtime should look like. More in that baseball inning kind of format. You start on the 25-yard line, you get 4 downs, make it or don't, and give the other team a chance to rebuttal. And then if both come up with the same result, then the team that started with the ball is on defense the next go round. So I think it's a really fair, again, format that the coin flip doesn't have as much determination as what the NFL did. Now, I know there is a little bit of a change on that if you kick a field goal and all that good stuff, the rules have changed for the better. But again, I think the NFL is just kind of missing on an opportunity. But circling back to the main reason why I brought that up, Clemson did lose that game. So they dropped to, I think, they're third in the country now, as of right now. So still in playoff
third or fourth. Well, highlight. We're going to touch on that a little later. A little foreshadowing.
Ooh. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, yes, you're right. In our lightning standings, when I get to that, I was like, what are you talking about?
Ultimately, though, I do love the college overtime. I think it's fantastic. It was actually one of the things I loved most about the XFL. The rebirth was their overtime rules.
Oh, yeah, good call.
Was a little different from college, but they really adapted the no ties format.
Now, Eric, you were a season ticket holder in the XFL. Have you heard anything? Is anything going on as far as that league really coming back for the next season? I know we have new ownership. It's not dead in the water, but are we looking?
Everything that I'm hearing is that it will be back.
Right.
I think the earliest it will be back will be 2022. Because obviously they don't want to compete against the NFL, and so they are kind of shooting for that winter spring football, and it looks like 2022 may be the target date for return for the XFL. Maybe some shifting of some locations around, but everything that there's not a ton of news about it, but everything that I am seeing is it is very promising, in particular for Seattle and for St. Louis to retain their teams.
Very good. Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. We're falling behind the clock here, so let's jump into our topic, and that is, as we started the show off with mentioning golf, the Masters are coming back, starting this weekend. That's awesome. Actually, it started today, at the day we recorded this, so we have some stats to even throw out on who's on the leaderboard. We'll get to that, and Eric, you wanted to tie in this whole Tiger Woods effect. What is that?
Yeah, and I'm really want to talk more about the topic and not so much the Tiger Woods effect, but the long story short is, with Tiger Woods coming into golf in the late 90s and being so successful and dramatically changing the golf landscape from what felt like, in the early 90s and 80s and 70s and all the older guys was, the curmudgeon-y old man sport. And, it was a, game that your dad went and played and quote unquote had business meetings and on the golf course. And it was the old man sport. Well, old man game really, because back then it wasn't really a sport, but I'm using that term loosely, of course.
Sure.
But with diving into and looking at the change that has really taken place, and now with Tiger Woods not being as successful of a golfer as he was in the 2000s, what has been the post, or as we start to enter that first era post Tiger Woods, even though, yes, I know he's still around, but there's been a couple of waves of these players coming through. What does that really look like? Was there really a dramatic impact on that? From a money standpoint, from a youth influx standpoint, from a kind of cool factor, where golf, as I kind of already alluded, golf wasn't a cool sport back then, and even something as simple as like Happy Gilmore really poked fun at that. I know it's a tongue-in-cheek Adam Sandler movie, but the fact still remains that that's exactly what golf was. And that's what
hey man, Rodney Dangerfield made golf pretty cool too.
Yeah, I mean,
and Ty,
you had a movie like Caddyshack, which was phenomenal. But obviously, it's
I hear what you're
not
saying.
Going to have the impact.
Yeah.
As an actual athlete or a golfer. But I think that's what Tiger really did. Was Tiger changed the landscape, not only from being a minority in a sport that was predominantly not accepting of that. The PGA didn't change their protocol. I think it was until the 70s, 1961, when non-Caucasians could actually then participate in the PGA. Think about that. How ridiculous is that? Especially in 2020, that
not that long ago,
they were segregated into the 60s for a professional sport. But he made it cool. He brought a youth factor to it because he wasn't just winning or won once as a younger kid. He dominated golf through, the end of the 90s and 2000s. One of the things, too, is that he made it an actual sport. He focused on really training super hard and getting very fit. And, he realized that it wasn't just a game of going out and, just like every sport, like something that's going on in between your ears and being a smart, athlete. But he really focused on the training. I mean, he was training 5-6 days a week. He was really working hard on being a professional athlete and really getting after it and free weights and making sure that he was the best possible golfer that he could. And so many golfers now have really taken that into consideration. Have really added things like a full training regimen that didn't used to be there. What are your thoughts generally around that? We've kind of grown up and through the Tiger Woods era, when golf wasn't really cool, and now it kind of has that cool factor too, going out there and playing golf. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, as someone who isn't an avid spectator of the sport, I do enjoy going to get a round in or two a year. I'm not also a frequent player myself, but you do see kind of a youth rejuvenation, I think, going on, and in particular as you focus in when Woods had his fall from the top, if you will, just basically on the off course kind of antics that went on, you saw a lot of talent kind of appear because there was opportunity to do that. And now some of